First off, today we're going to have Christy Polk. She is our transitional pastor at our Oak Hills Presbyterian Church in Milwaukee. But she was formerly the children's director there, so she is very familiar with their program and will be telling us a little about that. Jean Brunson is also with us. She is the co-director of ministry with children and their families at Lake Grove, and she's going to explain to you that title. And then we have Leslie Hanscom here. She is the Director of Community and Family Engagement at Valley Community in Portland. So thank you, all three of you, for preparing your what you're going to share today, and let's get started. So Christy, the floor is yours.
Sure, yeah. Well, so just to start, I want to say we are obviously located in suburban Clackamas County. So what works for us may not work exactly for you, so just be aware that that's our setting. Um, so I wanted to share when I first came to this church, I was already ready to be ordained, but I had a little girl and one on the way, a little boy on the way. So that's sort of my story of how I started as the children's director. I wasn't quite ready to jump into full ordained ministry. Um, Clearly, that happened along the way. That was 14 years ago. I came to this church, so it's been an interesting journey. Um, I just want to share with you some of the things that have worked for us in our vacation Bible school. When I first came here to Oak Hills, we had about 40 kids coming to our vacation Bible school. Over the years, we grew that to about 80. We are a church of 150 members, roughly, just under. So it kind of ballooned into a really big ministry. Um, so uh, it's not some sort of magical thing. It's just sort of what happened. Um, but I just kind of wrote down some of the things that we did that maybe helped to have it be a successful program. So number one, we decided to choose a curriculum that gave a very basic gospel message. Um, that way we were able to offer maybe a familiar curriculum company, uh, a familiar theme or something so that churches all around could send their kids and feel like, oh, I think we know what we're getting. So I dearly miss the old gospel light curriculum created by Presbyterian matriarch Henrietta Mears. But Henrietta had this vision that um, every single week of Vacation Bible School, kids would get just the very basic nugget of the gospel, which is God is good, human sin, God had a plan for redemption. Jesus died for us, rose again, and you always get that in that week. It's just that lovely little nugget. So when Gospel Light went belly up, we mourned because it was wonderful. We have found that group publishing, though more expensive, has kept in sort of Henrietta Mears's vein um, of, or in that tradition of telling the basic gospel message over those 5 days of Vacation Bible School. So we've stuck with group ever since Gospel Light kind of shut when they closed their doors. So that's the first thing. Just the basic gospel message. Number two, one of the things that we decided to do was to make Vacation Bible School free. Now that seems unsustainable, I think, to a lot of people. But what we did do is put out a jar that where we would very passively accept a suggested donation. When we started, it was $10, then it was $15. Actually, we don't do that anymore, which is interesting. But I'll tell you one of the reasons why we don't feel like we have to do that anymore. But the nice thing is that really lowers the barrier to entry because I'm sure everybody would offer scholarships, but it's embarrassing for people to ask. So instead of having to ask for a scholarship, you just say suggested donation, and then people give who can, and nobody's monitoring it at all. I mean, it's really just just a basket, a jar, whatever it is. They put in there what they can. So number three, I think one of the things that helped galvanize us as a team as we were doing Vacation Bible School was that we very intentionally met before every morning before VBS, just to make sure we were all on the same page and really in a spirit of joy and celebration. Hey, we're so excited! This is another day of VBS. A little bit of rah rah. A little bit of wow, we're a little tired from yesterday, but here we are. And then another thing that we did was we gathered up right afterwards and we had a little evaluation of the day. Again, super positive, but what went well? What didn't go so well? So that if people were feeling, we had one that was like a science theme, like a lab theme, and we had some kind of experiments that we had to do, and we learned that some of those weren't going as well as we had hoped. And some of the teachers were feeling really at a loss. And so it was helpful even if it wasn't easy to fix right away, we were able to at least make them feel listened to. And that really helped. So, and obviously, if there's another thing about beginning and ending is we always just started with prayer. Lord, this is your day. We want to give it over to you. And then again, closing in prayer and asking God's blessings on the next day. I think a fourth thing that I want to emphasize, and I feel like I'm kind of spotty, like here, there, and everywhere, but these are the things that sort of bubbled up that were especially helpful. Is I know this is hard coming in March, but start early. So I know some of you may be starting, now, and that's okay too. My first year as children's director here at Oak Hills, um, I I came in November. I had my son in late April. I went on maternity leave for 3 months and then I did VBS. So, I mean, that was back when we were at 40 kids, so it was way more doable. But, it just sometimes you can make it happen in the time that you have. But we found that as soon as we started, uh, as soon as our program kind of got going, it was really helpful to say, okay, what do we need to do? Is there anything we need to do in December? Is there something we need to do in January? When does the new curriculum come out? So how early can we start uh, talking to potential volunteers, recruiting? Sometimes recruiting takes a really long time. So, and then once we established that, then it was easy because then we just kind of knew what to do at different times of the year. So that was really important. Um, the last thing that I want to talk about is something that happened after I left children's ministry and became an ordained pastor here. That is really really cool, and that's it's part of what has made it possible for us to not even set out a donation jar, and that is our new children's director uh, is connected to a lot of other churches and outside of the denomination because she's been involved in Bible study fellowship for a really long time. So she had all these relationships. And because of those relationships, she was able to create a collaboration with 3 other churches to do Vacation Bible School. Now, the way we do it, I've seen other churches where they come together to all do Vacation Bible School. So 1 week, multiple churches. This is not what that is. Every church does its own VBS in its own time slot, but the 4 churches come together to choose the curriculum. We share the cost of the curriculum and all of the shared materials. And then each of the 4 churches creates 1/4 of the decor items. And that was another one I was going to actually mention from kind of our success early on. Decorate, like the magic, do the magic, have it be like another world. I know resources are a big issue. I mean, one year actually when I was leading it, Lake Grove gave us all their old stuff, and that was amazing. That was Brian Cricker. Anyways, but do make sure it's joyful and magical if at all possible. But the way that we have made sure that's continued is by creating this sort of traveling circus where, you know, we created 1/4 of the decor, and then the other church leaders come and drop off all the stuff. We set it up, and then when it's over, we take it down, and then the next church comes, grabs all the stuff, it goes to the next church, and then on and on. But I would say those are the main pieces. One of the reasons I think it's good to invest in Vacation Bible School if possible is that that's one of the ways that we've brought young families to our church. And so once you have young families who are able to bring energy and bring their resources to the church, then that gives more life to your church in the future. So it can be an investment that you really check a lot of energy into VBS, and then that's part of what sustains your church as well. But you don't have to put in a ton of resources if you can find other churches to either collaborate during that week and just come together, choose a campus and all come together to do it there. Or you can do it the way we do it, where it moves from place to place. So those are the comments that I prepared. Sherry, is it okay if I open it up for questions?
I would prefer to do Q&A afterwards if people can
sure,
just
no
hold
problem.
on to their questions.
Absolutely.
And we are the connectional church after all, right, everyone? So I see a connection right here with Moreland, Rose City, and First Pres. But anyway, okay. Thank you, Christy. That was awesome. So now we will hear from Jean from Lake Grove.
All right. Hi. Well, Sherry said I'd explain my title. So just super briefly, it is co-director of ministry with children and families, because here at Lake Grove, we really focus on the family as a whole. So the kiddos and their parents, and we offer lots of programming for the family as a whole. So that's my title. And then a little bit about our church, just so you can have an idea of the size of it here at Lake Grove. On average, we see about 40 kids come through on a Sunday, nursery through 5th grade, and about 350 people come through for our 3 different services we offer. We have a lot more that are members, but on average, that's what we see walk through our doors on a Sunday. So I'm going to talk about what we used to do at Lake Grove, what we do now, because it's very different. And then I will end with why we've changed it and why we do what we do. So I'm actually going to talk about why we don't do VBS anymore and what that looks like now. So we used to do VBS once a year. As Christy said, she borrowed stuff from our church, and we used to go all out, huge decorations, the music set, skits. It was a huge undertaking. About 200 kids would come through our doors for VBS at our church. It also meant we had about 150 volunteers that were needed to make that happen, from the food to running the groups to administration, all the different things. And the cost was about $12,000 when all was said and done. We typically charged, I think, $40 to $50 per child, but that definitely did not cover the full cost. And this took hours of our staff's time and was pretty labor intensive and draining on our staff and volunteers. And currently, as our congregation is aging, we don't have that amount of people, 150 volunteers, that can take on something that is that labor intensive, and being able to find that many volunteers to make this happen. So since COVID, we have not had VBS anymore. It stopped. But what we did was, this is our 3rd year now, where we are offering kindergarten through 2nd grade summer camps. So we offer 3 summer camps, one in June, one in July, and one in August. Our one in June is a cooking camp. Our one in July is an art camp, and our one in August is water camp. And we have Noah's Ark Preschool that meets at our church, and we partner with them. So they offer all the camps for preschoolers, and they offer 9 different camps. We just offer 3, but when we're doing cooking camp, they're also doing cooking camp. When we have art camp, they have art camp. So we come together with the preschoolers every day of camp, and we meet in the sanctuary, and our director of children's music comes and leads us in chapel time. So we're partnering with our music department, we're partnering with our preschool that meets here, and we have chapel, and the kids lead us in prayer, and we're singing songs that are connected with our theme for that week. The camp runs Monday through Thursday, 9:30 to 1 o'clock. And this year, because it's our third year, I'm very excited. We opened it up and we're full in the first hour and a half at 20 kids is what we had maxed it out at. And then we decided we will work hard to find a couple extra volunteers, and we bumped it up to 30, and we're now full at 30 kids in each camp. And the kids that we're pulling from are our Lake Grove kids, siblings of the preschoolers, whose kids or the preschoolers are coming to camp, and then their siblings come to our camp. And we're also pulling from some Momco families. For those of you that maybe used to know what MOPS was, Mothers of Preschoolers, it's now Momco, which meets at our church. So we pull from that group as well. And we also get quite a handful of neighborhood kids. Our church is located in the middle of a neighborhood, so we have a lot of parents that are thrilled that they can just walk over to a camp for their kiddos. We charge $150 a week, which I think when all is said and done, when you compare it to what a lot of camps are, we are still definitely on the affordable end for what we're offering for their kiddos. Every camp has a Bible verse, Bible story, Bible themes woven throughout. So for example, last year, our theme for cooking camp was taste and see that the Lord is good. And we made all sweets during the week. I think this summer we'll do fruits of the spirit. We did bread the first summer. So there's always a theme from the Bible and Bible stories that are woven throughout the week. We love to have our junior high and high schoolers come and help. So every camp, our goal is to have at least one or two of the high school and junior hires tied in, because not only is that a good experience for them, the kids love having high schoolers and junior high kids involved, and they are usually end up being the favorite, volunteer staff of the week. So we love to include them. The way we get the rest of our volunteers, if a parent signs up to help, then their kid gets free tuition and they don't have to pay the cost of that camp. We ask our elders to come, even if it's one day out of the week, to come see what we do, because that gives them a little taste of what we offer here in children's ministry. And then there are 4 people on our LGK team, not all full-time. Our LGK team is Lake Grove kids, and we each take turns leading one of the camps, and then we're all there assisting during the week as well. And this year we're going to try something where we ask the staff at our church to come, even if it's just for an hour during our cooking time or our actual lesson planning rotation time for each camp, to come in and help. And that also will give our staff an idea of what we do and come have fun with the kids at our church. So that's how we pull our volunteers. Just looking at my notes here to see if I got everything. So that is what our K through 2 camps look like. Some other things we do in the summer. We don't want to leave our 3rd through 5th graders out. So this year, what we're doing is partnering with Camp Tillicum, and we're taking a group of kids to Camp Tillicum. I think it's if you have 10 kids or more, you get a discount, and you have to send one or two volunteers that stay with the kids all week at Camp Tillicum. So that is what we are providing for the 3rd through 5th graders. The last 2 years, we have provided a service camp. So they meet for the week, and each day they're doing a service camp, whether it's outside of our church building or inside, putting kits together that will then be sent off somewhere. It looks different every year, but we decided to go in a different direction this year and try Camp Tillicum. And then one other thing that's offered is for 4th graders up through high school, our director of children's music is putting together a musical theater camp for a week with a performance on Saturday. And this is the 2nd year that we've done that. And it's been a fun thing for the older kids in our church to get involved in. And then we also offer a bike rodeo at the end of August in our parking lot. So what that looks like is we close off our whole parking lot, and we put fun bike courses or scooters if kids bring that instead. And they have a fun course to ride through. We have a cotton candy, snow cone, and popcorn machine. We have decorations for the bikes, and We invite the Lake Oswego Fire Department and police to come and hand out stickers to the kids. And this will be our 4th year doing it. So it is now expected, which I've seen a lot of value in when we are consistent with what we offer. Parents come and say, "You're doing that bike thing again, right?" Because they look forward to it and they want to make sure they're in town for it. So that's what we offer in the summer. And I'll just briefly talk about the reason we've switched to doing these camps instead of VBS is we feel it's more relational and there's better community building. We are not, now don't get me wrong, I thought VBS was a lot of fun and there's nothing like the catchy songs that you get to do during VBS. But when you're in a smaller group and you can break up because you only have 30 kids and maybe 5 or 6 different adults with them, you can really have deeper conversations. Some of the kids we've had in the past that have come through our camp saw a Bible in the sanctuary and said, "What is that?" And we were able to sit and have a conversation with them because we had a smaller group and there was just the time allowed to be able to have conversations like that. It's less volunteers that we need to find. It's easier to connect with kiddos. Some of them come to all 3 camps, so we really get to know them by the end of the summer. And a lot of our kiddos that, looking through the list of who signed up this year, are kids that have come the past 2 years to our camp. So that's exciting. It allows us to partner with our preschool here and our music department and our Momco kiddos. And it is nice to connect with kids that we know we will probably see again, because what we were finding with our VBS kids with 200 people coming through our building is a lot of times outside of the people that were already connected to our church, we never saw them come through our doors again. And we are seeing with the smaller, more intimate camps that we're offering that we do see these families and children again. And it allows us to build that community, which is one of our main goals in LGK, is building community with our families. So I think that touches on everything I wanted to share about.
Great. Thanks, Jean.
Yeah.
Leslie.
Yeah, I'm Leslie Hanscom, and I was the Director of Children and Families at Lake Grove. So it's really fun to listen to Jean because we worked together when the 5 years that I was at Lake Grove. I was now asked to join Valley to really live into what our mission and vision is, which our 3-year vision at Valley is a church of about 350 people located in the suburbs of Portland. The time that when I joined it, we had 2 children in our congregation. And so what our 3-year vision was to intentionally invest in supporting and developing authentic relationships with next generation families so that they might flourish. And I think that's really important to decide before we decide what we're going to do in programming for the summer. We have to decide why we are doing this programming. What is the Lord calling us to do and be? One of the things that I decided to take things that I had been involved with that were successful, like the bike rodeo at Lake Grove, but one of my goals was to try them at a smaller church with less volunteers, less budget, less staff. At Lake Grove, we have a huge staff of, over 20 people. Valley has there's 7 of us on staff. So how do we say things that are working in a large church context? Does it still work in a smaller church context? So I really have been kind of using Valley as a guinea pig to say, is this replicable? And I would concur with Jean that I think VBS is wonderful and we had great times doing it. However, I'm seeing that there's different needs now post-COVID and in a time where church is necessarily not going to be what it always has been. The iteration of church for young families is not going to look like maybe a Sunday centric, but what we're still doing is how do we then allow families to build connections with each other and develop relationships that are really rooted in Christ? And how do we then minister to families knowing that discipleship really happens not on our shoulders as children's directors, but in the home. So kind of doing that. So 2 years ago, we took the bike rodeo that we did at Lake Grove and replicated the same thing at Valley. And one of the things I want to say is Jean and I collaborate a lot and share resources with each other. You know, we've already talked about this summer, she's going to borrow my popcorn machine and I'll borrow her snow cone. But we've done that for the last 2 years. And I think that's really important, is that we not only share ideas with each other, but we share resources with each other, because resources are finite right now, and they're difficult in churches, as you know, especially for us as mainline churches. So we ran a bike rodeo. We have a preschool at Valley that has about 94 kids in it. So it's a large preschool. We were not seeing any of those people come to Valley to worship. And I think, you know, our preschool is people who are worshiping at other ones. They are definitely the nuns. They are definitely of other faith persuasions. But what my goal is how can I reach out and support families, give them opportunities to know one another, give them opportunities to connect with their children and feel like they are partnering, have people that are walking through life with them. And so we did things like the bike rodeo. The first year we did it in 2023, we had 65 people attend. Last year we had 95 people attend. We also do a splish splash party, which is a whole big water party. And Jean and I share all the water resources that she uses. You know, I send them to her camp and she sends things back to me when I do that party. The first year we did that, we had 50 people attend. Last year we had 95 guests. So we take those things that happened in the summer, and then Jean does the same thing as Valley does. Then we look at our whole calendar year. What are things that we can replicate throughout the year that are going to bring people to Valley, because they're more apt to come to us as a faith community if they feel comfortable in a non-threatening way, not on a Sunday. So we offered, we had a Red Yarn concert that we had 80 people at, you know, and so yes, I have a pretty good budget that the church really believed in funding what I did as far as a 3-year plan. But what I really love about, though, is Valley is an aging church. You know, we had one young family when I started, but last year when I added up how many people were involved in community and family engagement, we had about 23% of our entire congregation that helped in some way in, you know, they're scooping popcorn or they're greeting people at the door. The other thing that I would really suggest you do is find some community partners that you can partner with as well. We have a really good relationship with a grocery store, and they often supply things for me at very low cost. But what I like about these community events is what someone said to me recently, and I heard it from both a congregant and a participant, is they're starting to know the Valley faces, and the Valley faces are starting to know them. And what we're seeing is families repeatedly coming again and again and again, and they're starting to call Valley their church. Are we seeing them on Sunday? I mean, I would say now, this year, what we turned into our reported 15 children on our rolls. We had 24 kids at Christmas Eve service. So you're starting to see these small inroads into people saying, wow, this is a place where I'm known, I'm seen, people know my name, they know my kids. So what I love about this is I think we're in a time to try things that are new and things that have not been done before. And I think it's in a really exciting time to be in children's ministry, to kind of say, what is it that we can do that is new and fresh, with our why still being to disciple children and their families. So
Nice. All right. Let's turn this meeting over to you all. What do you have to piggyback on to anything you heard? Questions? This is your meeting. Carmen.
So I have a question first. So exciting to hear from all three of you. What a blessing to hear about this amazing, unique ministry that's happening in each of your contexts. So thank you for your investment and sharing with us. What a gift to me today. And I know to everyone else in this conversation. So I work at First Pres Portland. So downtown, it is a Sunday-centric church. Getting people to come downtown at any point other than Sundays is practically an impossibility, right? For a variety of reasons. So one of the things that I really believe in is the collaborative nature of what we do together. And many of our congregants, on a Sunday, we have 6 to 10 kids, 5th grade and younger, small, right? Small. We have some babies, but what I want to do is I want to bring kids to your events, because we have families in Beaverton, Hillsborough, Milwaukee, right? We have families, and I'm like, I want to know about all your things, because and Lake Oswego, like we could bring a little group to say they'll feel more comfortable if it's like, look, there's a couple of families. Now, granted, Lake Grove, you've already filled up your camps. Long story short, is there a way of sharing opportunities so that I'm not the only church that doesn't have a VBS planned? Wouldn't it be great for the small groups of kids that we have in all these different churches to know about these different opportunities so we can register for VBS over in Milwaukee or whatever? So is there a way of getting that information out? Does someone have a suggestion on that?
I think we should also, maybe Sherry, you could help with that, as we kind of create a special email group that, and someone, because I really do believe that. I mean, one of your families, Dana, I see every single week when he drops his daughter off at preschool. But I think we're close enough. Valley has done some collaborative things with First Pres for their youth group, because neither of our youth groups are big enough to do it on our own. So they actually went on a mission trip. They're a joint mission trip last year. So I think Carmen is onto something, because I think that is the way of the future for us as ministries, is to be working in collaboration with each other, sharing our lesson plans, sharing our events. There's no reason why it can't be a Valley and First Pres or whoever event. Or it could be like what Christy said, you partner with other denominations. If you're in Astoria, for instance, or Albany, are there some like congregations that you can put together I know that when we did the bike rodeo in Lake Oswego, when I was on staff, we actually gave all of our goods to another local church that was a small Lutheran church that was doing the same thing. So to me, I'm all about that collaboration.
Yeah, let's not reinvent the wheel, right? If something's really working, let's share it. I would be so happy to at least start by setting up a Google group with everybody who's registered for this meeting, so you can collaborate with each other via that. So in the Cascades Connection, that's an awesome topic, Carmen. Let's spread the word. And I think we're probably not too late. So how do we do that? I mean, now, well, Lake Grove's off the table, it sounds like, but Oak Grove and Valley, and how do we find other churches that are offering programs? I guess maybe we just ask. And we can say this is all part of our wrap up from this conversation today. If you have children in your church and you want them to be involved in a summer program and you don't offer one, here's churches that are. And if you do offer a program and you'd like to invite churches from your sister Presbyterian churches, let us know and we can advertise that for you. So, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So stand by for more on that. Thank you, Carmen. What else?
Well, it's interesting. I just wanted to say thank you, especially to Jean and Leslie, because I didn't get into it, but in telling you what has worked for us in the past, but we are seeing a shift this year, which is really interesting. Some of it, we're a church in transition. And our pastor's family, the pastor who left, so husband, wife, both super involved in VBS, and their 4 children, their 4 teenage children all did so much. So wow, we said goodbye to like a huge piece of VBS, at least most recently. But we are wondering if we're going to have enough volunteers to do what we've done in the past, and so we are looking for the for wisdom. It looks like we're going to be able to pull it off as usual. But those questions are out there. A lot of churches are moving to an evening program. The churches, I think actually out of the 4 churches that we collaborate with, we're the only ones that still offer a weekday program. They offer it at night. We still want to do that if we can. I think there's just such a need for a place for kids to go in the morning. But I just wanted to be completely honest that we are seeing fewer volunteers. And that's the biggest challenge is just, do we have enough people who have the time to give to VBS? So
Christy, I'm
thank
glad you
for-
said that.
yeah.
And I'm sorry to jump in one more time.
No,
other
I was
than-
done. Yeah.
Well, what I mean is this is a really helpful conversation because, for example, like already I'm like, Christy, if we just like Leslie suggested, this collaboration that naturally happens because of the relationship she and Jean have, like you and I have not met before, but I'm like, I have a handful of volunteers. If we were partnering, if we had these relationships and connections fostered, then I could be like, Christy, how many do you need? I'm going to get 4 parents and we're going to help you do this. And we're going to have 4 of our own kids enrolled or whatever. And then all of a sudden, anyway, I think there's
Sure.
room
I have to put
for
you
this.
in contact with Susan Teague, our children's director.
Okay.
Who's, she'll be the gatekeeper. So, I don't know. I can't speak for her, but
Oh, of course. This is just
but-
musing.
but yes,
musing.
absolutely. Maybe it's time to invite another church in to the conversation. So cool. Thank you, Carmen. I'd love to connect. Yeah.
So I see Leslie dropped it in the chat that Valley is offering a drama music camp for August, and registration's still open, so we'll be sure and include that. Jean, I'm not, I think you mentioned that your 3 camps, cooking, water, and are all full, but do you have other, your other older kid
Yeah,
programs that maybe you have?
The musical one for 4th through high schoolers still has availability. And if there were any 3rd through 5th graders that wanted to join us at Camp Tillicum, since we're providing transportation from our church out to Camp Tillicum in Newburgh.
Okay.
So there is availability for both of those. I can email you
If
the
you
links
could.
and the sign
Yeah,
up and you can include that. Yeah.
Sure. So, and anybody else here that's offering anything? Meredith, I don't know what you're doing at in Albany.
Sure. So can you hear me okay?
Uh-huh.
So we're kind of in transition. We're kind of going away from, if you will, the typical VBS and looking at combining that with kind of like an everyday theme camp. We're trying to connect kids with the community more, as well as nature. So we're coming up with different ways to do that, such as hiking, partnering up with our Humane Society. We're looking at starting or being called Camp Creation. So we take different creation themes and going out there so we can grow our ministry. We're a smaller youth ministry, and our camps are usually around 25 kids, 25 kids. And we're growing, but we're definitely have that smallness where we can kind of really make it more intimate and get to know the kids. We're trying to bridge a little bit of the gap with our preschool and trying to get those families, like it was said before, to get involved more and things like that. But again, volunteers is just more difficult to gather, to get enough But that's kind of where we're at. We're kind of in this floating area, but definitely want to meet the needs of our kids who don't necessarily have the chance to connect with nature or go out into our communities. So we're looking at different opportunities and was wondering if anybody had experience with taking their kids to different area camping or fishing or anything like that, and how did it go, what worked, what didn't work.
Okay, so if anyone has any ideas on that from Meredith. Meredith, I love that. Connecting kids to nature. Awesome.
Jean,
And I'm
Jean
ass-
has done that. Jean has done some hikes with parents and kids.
nice. And I'm assuming your connection to the dog shelter, then you might take dogs out, and that's a public
Mhm.
service and a lovely way to, yeah, recognize more of God's creation. There are things going into the chat. Please monitor that. I'll include that in my wrap-up email as well. Brad, I saw your hand up earlier.
Thank you. And thank you to all who are presenting and express interest in this. I do have to leave in about 5 minutes, but I'm curious about follow-up activities that you do with these children and families and what has worked in terms of connecting them with other events in the life of the church. And just briefly, we've done pretty big VBSs in the past, and then with COVID, after we started a food pantry, we really transformed our VBS into a service camp where it was integrated into our food pantry, where the kids learned about the pantry and learned about hunger needs and helped, organize closets and sort food, and then actually ended up serving folks. And then we also usually do something in worship to celebrate. So I'm just curious if anybody else, any feedback about other things they do to connect later on with future events in the life of the congregation.
So not, we haven't had a lot of things that we've done, but one of the things that we do every year is, or at least we did it when I was leading. I don't remember what Susan, our children's director, does right now, but we send out a link to the video of the slideshow of the week, and kind of sort of like, like a week later after VBS is over, and be like, yeah, remember how great this was? And then we invite everybody to come to worship. So one of the things we found is that in the summer, when we tried to do like a big VBS celebration on the Sunday at the end, it would be kind of a bummer because there'd be such energy during the week and there'd be so many kids, and then all the families like go away for the weekend afterwards, and there's just like a few kids in t-shirts kind of looking a little sad. So we've definitely acknowledged VBS on Sunday, but the whole big old celebration didn't quite work for us. But yeah, just some follow-up communication, emails, things like that, a week or a few weeks down the road. But no, we've not really had anything huge or super, super successful. It just seems like the families that felt called to join us just kind of did. And it didn't seem to depend on our efforts to bring them in more than just that they came. So yeah, not much, sorry.
Okay. I had a question. Or did anyone else have anything for Brad? Maybe thoughts on follow up with families after the fact? I'm not sensing. Okay.
I mean,
Jean?
nothing huge. I mean, typically the only thing we would do is a couple days after camp, we would often send a postcard or something through email if we did not have an address saying, we are so glad your child was able to join us at camp. Thank you. And then we would send out a slideshow of the pictures we had taken throughout the week, just to recap And then we would send at the end of each camp week, a little flyer with our upcoming other summer events, such as our bike rodeo and other things we were offering as a way to invite them back at a different time.
I had a question for Christy. So these decorations that you share amongst your 3 or 4 partners, are they available for use by other local churches if they want to try and offer something?
I mean, they will have been through 4 different churches. Actually, we're down to 3 churches, I think, this year. I know there's one church that in the past has kind of warehoused them. So honestly, I don't know. All I know is that the best things have generally been kept at a church that has some storage. But no, we've not in the past sort of said, okay, advertised it out. These things are now available. But I don't know who tends to be the last church. I'd have to ask Susan, our children's director. But I could try to get that information for you and see.
Yeah.
If those things are
You-
available. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll ask Susan.
Have you chosen your theme for this year?
Yes, so it's Group Publishing's True North curriculum. It's like outdoorsy camp, clearly very like Northern Lights, so kind of Alaska bears. That's the theme. All I've seen since I don't read it, I've just seen sort of visuals, so I don't really know what the scripture passages are, but it looks cute. So
So if anybody's looking for ideas, and there might even be some use of decoration, use of decorations in the mix. Anybody else have any questions or contributions? What's Rose City Park doing? I see at least a couple people here from Rose City. What's going on over there?
Chris, do you want to share? Would you prefer I did? I'm Liz Levitt. I'm pastor over at Rose City Park Presbyterian Church in Northeast Portland, and Chris is also here. She's our elder for educational ministries. Last number of years, we've done a kid camp, 9 to 12, Monday through Friday. Mostly, our tack on this has been a little bit different. We see this as a real opportunity to spend time with the kids that are in our program and just really nurture them and get them to spend time with trusted adults, have a lot of fun in the church building. We have a great team of volunteers that runs that, and that seems to be going really smoothly. We usually have, I think last year we had maybe 18 or 20 kids that came for the week, and we will be doing that this year, July 7th through 11th. We have also some neighborhood kids that join. It's been a great point of connection for the friends of kids who are already kind of integrated into our church body, cousins, other people that are in our sort of broader network, but that we might not see too frequently on Sundays. That's been a great place to just really grow those connections and have an experience of church being a place that's super fun, creative, place to build connections with friends and other adults. So Chris, do you want to add anything to that?
No, it is a smaller group than what I'm hearing. But we have a lot of fun, and so far our volunteers are having a lot of fun. So that is the big part for me, trying to get them.
All right.
Yeah.
Jean, I was wondering, can the same child sign up for all the 3 different camps, or are they only allowed one of the camps? I think it would be hard to choose, so I'm just curious.
No, we have a lot of kids that do all 3.
Do all 3.
Which is quite lovely, which means by the end of August, we really get to know the children that have come to all the camps. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, we still have a few more minutes, but we certainly don't need to fill our hour. Anything else? Roberta, was there anything you wanted to mention in particular? St. Andrews? I haven't quite had time to review the chat as much as.
Hello. at St. Andrews, we have there are 3 to 4 families that have connected with the church in one way or another. One mom and little girl comes on a fairly regular basis. Another family, the mom grew up at St. Andrews, and she and her husband and 2 boys, along with the first mom and daughter that I mentioned, along with 1 or 2 other families, attend what we call supper church. It happens on the 2nd and 4th Sundays in the evening. We meet in the chapel. It is a very relaxed fellowship. We do some checking in time. I read a very brief story. Then I take the children and we do a simple craft while the parents can actually have engage in some adult conversation. So we're ministering to the parents as much as we are to the children, or maybe even more so. And then we have dinner together. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. This is about the 2nd year that it's been happening, and we have this. There are in terms of ongoing volunteers, Pastor Sarah and her husband and daughter always come. I'm the elder of Christian Formation. I'm there. There are 2 other long time volunteers with children's ministry who come. We have another couple who is willing on a regular basis to pick up the food at the local restaurant and bring it for the dinner. And then they are part of the fellowship also. So we tend to average maybe between 12 and 20 people. And so it's what we have right now, and there's a strong commitment to it. So I'm interested in seeing, in hearing where we might go from here at a point in the future.
Nice. Hey, you churches with the bike rodeos, do you have videos available? And if you do, why don't you share a couple of those with me, and I'll include them and let people see what that consists of and how easily replicatable that might be?
Yeah, it's very replicable, because I would say we have fire and police come to Valleys as well, and they're more than willing to do that, and they do helmet checks and give out helmets. I don't know if I have any video. I probably have photographs from it that I can easily send. And I was going to say the Splish Splash Party last year, we had a huge water slide thing that then we ended at 5:30, but then the youth started at 5:30 and used it, and they did cleanup for us. But that would be something that we would do. You could do, like, partner with First Pres or Lake Grove and have all the youth kind of come and enjoy the same event, but later.
Okay, so again, then, as we wrap up, I will go ahead and create a Google group. I don't know if you have to accept the invitation but I will add all of our emails, and then I'll also figure out with our churches, other people to add to that group as much as possible. And let's see if we can build some collaboration. And then, yeah, once it comes together, sharing like your bike rodeo on the 12th and your Splish Splash. And so other local churches can see what's going on and perhaps participate. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. And yeah, what a great conversation. I look forward to putting a wrap up together and sharing it with others in the Presbytery.